how y'all doing? Hopefully everyone had a good weekend. I am starting back bright and early and doing a little bit of Varus to get out of the way. And it's really important to code Varus for us, especially because it tends to lend a lot of high quality details in places we otherwise might not get them. Certainly, Varus lends us a lot of information about victims that is hard to get in anonymized records. Also, timelines sometimes are more verbose. And so the various records, and plus because they're coded from kind of the details of breach, and it turns out, and anyone who's seen the stream before knows that you can actually get a whole lot out of a even pretty simple couple of paragraphs. But because we get that, we can get a lot more detailed records sometimes. And so here, we'll jump right into it. There we go. So what we're going to do is we're going to go through my incidents that are assigned to me in the VCDB repo. This is the Varus community database. For those who haven't seen it before, this is our records of publicly disclosed breaches. We capture news articles or links in the issues, and then we randomly assign them out weekly to various people on the team and who are willing to help to code them. And then we use this web app, which it's hosted at varuscommunity.net. But if you go to the VCDB, or excuse me, the Varus repository. So actually, let me go there now so I can show this, because I don't think I've shown this on stream before. GitHub.com, that will be it. If you go here and you look in bin, there's this directory for the web app, and there's a bunch of stuff under this, but it all builds down into a single file, which is this web app min. And so everything in this web app is self-contained in a single HTML file. Yeah. So I don't know. I'm like, by the way, hey man. As a side note, like, I haven't figured out how streamers, I think they all have like the little buttons that they press. But when I switch views, I have to go over into, or scenes, I have to go over to OBS and click them. And there's like, I've got like half a dozen different ones. And unless I'm paying attention, I click the wrong one. I need like the fancy setups with like the buttons that you just press, and it's got like the nice little icon or something. I need to like watch a stream or watch a video on how to stream. I don't know. Like, I spent a lot of money to get these bookshelves built in the background so that I'd have a nice background when I did video chats and things like that. I don't want to put up a green screen because I like my my bookshelves back there. So, but I do need to work on my stream foo. Like, it feels like there's more to it than I'm putting in, you know. But maybe if I was doing it like, 8 hours a day every day, I would have this down a little bit better. But anyway, talking about the web app, we wanted to build something that people could use even in environments where they couldn't install software, and even in isolated environments where they couldn't have any kind of network connection. And we wanted people to be confident that, if we were giving you some web app to use, it wasn't a web app because we wanted it to phone home to any server. And so this file is literally everything you need. You could download that single file and run it in an isolated environment, and you can use this web app as is in a browser. No additional software necessary, no network connection. When it saves out data, it saves it just locally as a zip file, and that was intentional. Eventually, we wanted to give the ability maybe to click a button and automatically send records to us. But really right now, kind of intentionally, we want it to save to disk, and then you have to take a separate action to send us those records. Because we want it to be very clear that it is a conscious choice to do so. We don't want anyone, doing anything like that accidentally. And so anyway, let's get into this because it would be nice to get through 4 of these today. We'll start with whatever's at the top. Possible bug in WhatsApp. Like, that is not what I would consider a confident statement, but a lot of times possible ends up being, yeah, we knew it was, and we just didn't want to admit to it. So let's see. An issue in instant messaging application WhatsApp may provide others with full access to your conversations when replacing phone numbers. Amazon employee Abby Fuller has reported, and that's a link, so maybe that's like a tweet or something. Yeah. A potential bug that gained a lot of exposure online lately when setting up WhatsApp on a new device. You see a phone number, the full message archive of that previous owner was restored to the phone. It's a new device. No, it wasn't secondhand. It was not a second SIM. Yes, I'm sure you weren't. Blah, blah, blah. Okay, other users. So there's at least one disclosure here. Logged into WhatsApp and with a new phone number today, and the messaging history from the previous numbers owner was right there. This doesn't seem right. Okay, so this would count as a breach because it happened, right? Here, let me do this real quick. Sometimes for the Twitter links, I kind of prefer to open them in an incognito window because that way it doesn't do any filtering based off of my Twitter account, and we can see what actually is probably the more common view. Okay, so this sounds like something we can do, and we've got a good date on it, so we'll give it a shot. MLS notes, security incident. Yeah. The GitHub number. It's all the simple upfront stuff that has to happen. The metadata, so to speak. The reference. We'll put this, and we'll also put the tweet in it, because tweets end up being particularly useful. Comes down to it. Add this to the link. Summary. Application sent message history based on email number without confirming mail number ownership. So reuse of email number caused breach. Okie dokie. Confidence. Yeah, seems pretty straightforward. Okay, and so when did this happen? She discovered this January 10th, 2019. And this is going to be an error, obviously. There was no intent on her part. And because we can, let's put in the time. Now, I assume that time is set to my local time, which is Central. And so in January, Central would have been 5 hours behind, 6 hours behind EDT or GMT. Is that right? So 1900 plus 6 hours. Screw it. We'll just say 7 p.m. 7 p.m. local. We don't exactly get accurate enough for this to matter a whole lot. 7:06 p.m. local to someone. Okay. And then compromise was seconds. It just happened. Exfiltration. Excuse me. We got a cold today, so I might be coughing a bit. Exfiltration happened immediately an accident. Well, I mean, yeah. Discovery was, say, what's this timing between these tweets? I mean, hours, really. I think it took hours to get it back to people who were aware of it. And do we have any word on when they fixed it? Messaging says it was specific, just a bug. Offer an official statement. Others explain this all happens because the phone number. That's all evidence is to indicate this is a bug, so it remains to be seen how or if WhatsApp plans on resolving it. Okay. So the problem there is it isn't really clear if WhatsApp did anything about it. I mean, they must have, and then they must have said something. Is there anything in the tweet about it? message. Back up. Let's see. Instant. Kind of. See. Maybe WhatsApp replace phone number. Number bug. See if anything comes up if we search for it. Let's try this. Hackers had update to avoid the security breach. Discovered. They started rolling out a fix in the recent days. Oh, that's a different one. Bug let snoopers put spy. I'm just gonna skip. I don't know that they did anything about it. So that's our timeline. Victim is WhatsApp, which as a company, I wonder how big they are, where they would qualify. They're a messaging company, so telecomish, I don't know. How many people do they employ? It's really what we want to know. 50. It always surprised me how few people it takes to create something like this. Say 50 to 100. That is as of 2015. They seem to be proud of it, so maybe they didn't expand too much. WhatsApp is, where are they located? It's acquired by Facebook. So, but where were they originally located? Are they? Is WhatsApp a California company? I guess they're headquartered in California. So yeah. So United States, region North America, and then state USCA. Locations affected 1. Excuse me. NICS code. That's a good question. What's app NICS code? Okay, 311. I don't know. Purchasing means. I don't think that's right. Data processing, hosting, and related. Let me try that. Kind of sounds similar. 518210. Let's see if we agree with that. 51 puts them in information, which I can agree with. 8210 hosting and related services. Yeah, can't argue with that too much. So we'll give that. It's the industry. No real secondary victims. We'll close this, and the action is error. This is going to be misdelivery, interestingly enough, and inadequate efficient technology resources. I'm going to say this is a process mistake, right? Because the process for verifying users was to use the email address, or the phone number, excuse me. And even based on the phone number, it didn't account for when the phone changed phone numbers. So that's pretty straightforward. The actor is going to be an internal developer of some type. Developer. No motive. This was an accident. Job change is unimportant. Close actor. Asset is, we're going to count as one asset, knowing that there's probably some massive load balancing system on the back end. Some server that actually application server is in here somewhere. It's really the web application, one web application. Hosted probably in Google's cloud, but we're not going to worry about it. Or Facebook's cloud. Attribute. Confidentiality. Yes, we know that one person's data was disclosed. The amount is internal information. Well, so it's really, internal information would be internal information of the organization. This is really personal information. It's messages, which is kind of what we think of as internal information, but it's messages of the customer, not related to the company necessarily. So it's customer information, state. That's a really good question for this one, right? Because conceptually that data shouldn't have been stored unencrypted, but how did it show up unencrypted at the other end? Stored, data abuse, no. Sorry, attribute, targeted, not applicable because this was an error. Discovery method, external, was reported by a customer. Value chain doesn't really apply in cases of errors. Impact, insignificant. So actually, is there one below insignificant? I can't remember if there was. No. This doesn't change anything about anything. And then this was, I think, randomly assigned. Yeah. So, random. Don't know a lot of these things. Event chain, a error by an internal user involving a web application server compromise the confidentiality of a customer. And then don't really know the maturity or anything, and so put this as finalized, or excuse me, as validated, and we'll save that. And as we've done in the past, I'm going to create a new file and save it into that new file just as a added layer of protection, so that if something goes wrong, and it never has, knock on wood, while we're on stream, it gets saved. But we have had problems. Other team members have had issues where they've tried to save it and it hasn't saved, and so there may be some race condition that we have trouble reproducing in the web app. Okay, so let's go on and see what else we have here. That one was pretty straightforward, thankfully. Okay, Ally Bank reports third-party breach. Okay, sorry, for some reason I like read it as third data breach, and the idea of a bank having a third data breach so close together that you report as a third breach was concerning. Okay, what happened? Third-party supplier inadvertently transmitted files which contained your personal information to another financial institution. November 2018. So we got who, we got what, we got when, we got the actor. The actor actually will be a partner in this case. It's confirmed. The GitHub number is 12861. So paste that in here. Get our reference, which is the disclosure letter. Summary. Partner transmitted victim customer data to unauthorized financial institution accidentally from everything that, yeah, inadvertently. I like inadvertently better. Inadvertently. Okay. So come down here. Confidence is high because we've got that incident timeline. It's going to be 2018, but November. And so I'm leaving the DVR year as 2020. And the reason for that is the DBIR year runs November 1st to October 31st. And so even though conceptually, like something that happened in 2018 should be in the 2019 report, it takes us between November 1st of 2018. We spend that time, November and December, collecting the data and then kind of analyzing it to write the report in the spring of 2019. And so because of that, something that happened in November of 2018 actually goes in the 2020 report, just because of how the timelines work out. So compromise, unknown, we don't know, unknown, discovery. Do they say what you can do, what we are doing? Not really. You talk about what information. Unknown. If this was like an actual breach, we would be having problems. But because it's an error, it's going to be pretty straightforward. Is it Ally Bank? Is that how they are identified in the common vernacular? Let's give it a look. Ally Bank seems legit. Storied organization has been around for 19 years. But nothing about how big they are. So we'll go over here and check. Come on. Ally Bank. Not Ally Banks. Company. Okay. Wow. See all 10,000 employees. Okay, so that makes it easy to place them. They are, unless they've doubled in size, or Facebook or LinkedIn is off by more than that. Follow that. They are a bank. Banks are 521. What is it? We use it all the time. I should know it by heart. 5221 bank. Oops. Investment bank, commercial banks, 522-110. That's it. That shows up so often. Locations affected, we'll assume one. We're going to assume the United States. But we really don't know the region because it came from, the actor was actually a third party. So I'm going to, excuse me, we know the region, we don't know the state. So we'll put the region back in and we'll leave the state blank. We don't know the third party, and since this was reportable code, Ally is the victim. Action, error, misdelivery. And we really don't know the vector. We don't know why it was misdelivered, what happened. So we'll leave that unknown. And the actor was a partner with no motive. We really don't know the country either. We would assume the United States, but you know, without them saying, it's hard to say. Asset. It's a good question. So it really depends on how it was delivered. Was it a paper delivery or a email? Inadvertently transmitted files. Okay, so transmitted files, it's going to be a server. It's going to be either an email server or a web server. So it's using some service. I mean, I guess it could be a desktop, but that's a good question. I take this to be kind of a bulk transmission. You know, we'll just do server unknown. Actually, you know what I'm going to do is I'm going to do server unknown and user device unknown because it was likely a user sending to a server. I don't really know any of the rest of this. I had to guess pretty much at that. No, not targeted is not applicable because it was an error. Discovery method, I don't think they mentioned. Do they? Events again, no reason to receive institution report the error immediately. Delete the files from their systems. Support immediately made changes to their procedures. Provide additional training to prevent this type of error. You can kind of guess like what happened there. The procedures were not followed. So I'm going to go back here to action and to error and then vector. say inadequate processes because a site having to have updated and trained people on them. The discovery method was external because it was by the receiving organization. And so that would be unrelated third party. Well, actually, because they're related, because they receive the information, it really would be kind of other. Because it wasn't a customer, it wasn't the actor, an audit or emergency, found documents. Well, no, because it was files. Actor disclosure, fraud detection, incident response, law enforcement, monitoring services. I'm going to take a note because found documents should probably be a subset under unrelated third party. So I'm going to make a note in the Verus repo to consider changing how those are handled during the next time we update Verus. So we'll go in issues, new issue, and it's going to be found documents, Verus unrelated third party in discovery method. And really the question is, if documents are found and none of, I can't type by the way, none of the other discovery methods apply, is it implicitly a unrelated third party and as such forms a hierarchy with unrelated third party as parent and found documents as children. And really there's not another probably question of, if we have unrelated third party, should we have related third party? That's a good question. Should we have related third party in discovery method? So I'll put a note for that also on the Verus repo. So unrelated third party. So should we have related third party? We have unrelated third party, and this would be kind of an example of that. An example is partner accidentally sends, say, misdelivers data to an unauthorized partner they work with, something like that. And I need to label these as schema questions so that they get caught in our review. There's one. We'll go back to the other issues. And if you're watching the Verus repo, you'll see these popping up as schema issues. And someone pointed out this morning that I also need to add an issue to the Verus R repo because the Verus R repo doesn't have a lot of the tutorial is off by a little bit. So okay, so we're gonna put unrelated third party, come on, or other, excuse me, and note that discovered by receiving financial institution which was related to the partner who sent the data but not the intended recipient, something like that. Because it's an error, there's no value chain. Impact, they had to write a letter, so insignificant. Plus random, this was a random assignment, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, there's nothing in here indicating it wasn't. The event chain was an error by a partner on let's say a server asset related to confidentiality. So with that, we can finish that one. By the way, this is kind of an important point. I'm going to save this off and then I'll talk about hierarchical information. So we talked about this briefly when we were discussing the discovery method, but there's a lot of things in Varus that are kind of hierarchical, but not clearly so. And so if you go look at the underlying structure of Varus, it's a JSON schema. And JSON schemas are pretty verbose in the way they have to capture each level of the hierarchy of a data schema. And so it takes 2 or 3 levels to go down a single level of actual data. And so because of that, we try to keep from adding more and more depth to the schema. It also causes substantial problems in parsing because the only reason we're able to kind of flatten some of this stuff is because of kind of how it breaks down hierarchically. And we have problems where we have things like lists, particularly lists of objects, cause a huge problem in breaking it down. As long as we have objects of objects, we're normally okay, and we can kind of trace down the leaves of the tree. When you have lists of objects, you end up with, instead of a one-to-many parent-to-child relationship, kind of a many-to-many parent-child relationship, which becomes very awkward to deal with. Now, one of the places you can see this is in, I think it's confidentiality, in data stored. So example here, we've got stored encrypted, stored unencrypted. And so the way we create hierarchy, at least one level of hierarchy, without adding it to the schema, and this is a bit of a hack to make this work, is we put them all at the same level. But in post-processing, if you fill in stored encrypted or stored unencrypted, and you don't mark stored, our business logic that runs will fill it in. And you can see that the business logic over in the Varus repo in the rules script, which is something we run on every time we create a data set, we run it. And so you'll see, we can probably search for it here. Stored, here we are. And so we indicate that this is an internal hierarchy. And you can see that if it's any of these things, it fills in stored as well. And that lets us kind of create the hierarchy. And this isn't a problem because these are multinomial, or they're not exclusive, is more importantly. Because they're more non-exclusive, it's okay to mark stored and stored unencrypted at the same time. That doesn't affect anything on the post-processing because post-processing doesn't count the number of records that are marked. It doesn't count stored encrypted as one and then stored, like if you had these two selected, this isn't two things. This doesn't get counted as 2 records or 2 from a sample size. We count the number of records. So it's 1 record, and it's 1 record that has 2 values in it. It makes the analysis a little bit harder. That's why we tell people to use get-enum CI in the Varus R repo for doing analysis, because it handles that stuff silently and transparently in the background. But it also helps with the structuring of the data up front. And so that's kind of how all these little things are interrelated. So I should probably unmark these so that I don't make a mistake when I code our next breach. And we'll close this one and we'll get on to what's next. Element Vape sends data breach letter to customers. Okie dokie. Sounds very similar, except they probably actually were breached. It's a photo that doesn't... Okay. I have to read a photo of a disclosure letter. November 2nd. FISI LLC is committed to... why don't they ever start with like, gee, we're really sorry we messed it up, versus like, oh no, we really try hard. I know. Like they probably didn't put it online anywhere. They just physically emailed it, hoping no one would notice. Okay, what happened? September 20th, 2018, we discovered that a third-party intruder inserted malicious code into our website's e-commerce software platform to create a window of intrusion between. For okay, well that's good. We've got the breach date. We've got, and assuming this is what it. Let's see what data was involved. Were involved credit cards. Yeah, it was. So this is just kind of probably pretty standard credentials or credit card stealing malware inserted into kind of existing e-commerce platforms. We've got good dates on it. Did they actually send a sticker with the breach notification? Like, why the sticker? No, like, hey, we're sorry we lost your data, but here's a sticker. We're hoping to leave you with a good feeling. I know, like, it would be great if, like, our dream is that people, like, we will make our tooling so easy to use that people will find it easier to use for their different their different uses, and we'll all kind of get to this generally structured system that works for the majority of people. It'd be really nice to use it. In fact, like I think California potentially uses some of Varus. We know of a lot of companies internally that use Varus to do their breach notification reporting. Oh, okay. Is that what it is? Oh, thank God. Like, I was hoping that they didn't send the sticker along with. That would have just been that. Like, I don't put it past any companies that are breached to do weird things. Like, there's always, because they always have to do something to be like, things are bad, but they're a little bit okay. So, okay, thanks for pointing that out, Calvin. Okay, well, I should be getting on with this. It's 9:38. I want to get this one and another one done before we complete. So, okay, here we go. GitHub, here, confirmed, reference, do summary, e-commerce, credit card stealing, malware. Okay, confidence is high because we've seen a lot of these recently. Incident. This happened in 2017, which is the right time frame. Most of the people found it earlier than that. 12, actually, and we do need to change, well, but it wasn't discovered until June of 2018, so this actually should go in the 2019 corpus. Because we normally go on discovery date, because the reality is, putting it in based on when it happened isn't fair, because a lot of times it was ongoing until it was discovered. Day, December 6th. I appreciate people who put accurate timelines in their disclosures. Compromise, we really don't know. We would guess it is probably a pretty quick compromise, just because this is kind of commodity malware normally. Exfiltration, that should have happened within seconds. Once it was put there, it should have started exfiltrating data. Discovery, did they discover it in June? On September, no, they did not. They discovered, how did they go until June 27th, but they didn't discover it until September? Okay, so we'll go with months. That'd be what, 10 months? 9 months? December to, I think, 10 months. It's most of September and most of December and most of September. Okay. Containment. Right, risk. We have not confirmed that any personal information was in fact taken by the third-party intruder. We determined that credit card information of customers made transaction on our website was at risk. You know, if they were, I, I can't understand how they make that claim that they can't confirm that the data was taken. They just don't have any records that the malware was sending. The malware didn't have any sending capability. You know. Anyway, um, they discovered it on September 20th. Let's assume that this is the kind of thing that they got taken care of in at least days, if not hours. They didn't make the disclosure to November, but they had to have removed the malware pretty quickly. We'll go with hours because I'll bet that seems more realistic for removing a piece of malware. This is not rocket science. Victim. So this is VCDB LLC, I guess. See who they are. VCDB LLC. Is this a store? Google Maps isn't gonna do this for me. It's just like oh, this is their breach information here, which wouldn't be bad, like to reference this. So I guess we could put the November notification in. So that's when when the notification went out, right? November 2nd, 2018. 2018, 11, 2nd. They notified the government on October 31st, so a couple days earlier. I'm going to put this in the references as well. I'm going to put it in the breach records so that if we go back and look here, we've got it. Limited LLC, correspondence, affirmative action, September to June. We're going to search of customer transactions to figure out who was in the time frame, and we anticipate distribution by October 30th. Okay, that doesn't really tell us any more than we knew before. Well, let's go to our backup in LinkedIn. This has got to be, if nothing else, this is going to be a small business, right? It's like a little local store. Yeah, they don't even show. For lack of better options, we'll mark them as small. And then next code, they're going to be retail. Then is there a tobacco option? Looking, I don't know. Like, what do you call a? I know what I would call a shop that sells vaping products, but I'm not sure what they would be listed as a name. Nope, there it is. Tobacco shops, tobacco stores. That's what I'm looking for. We will use that instead of what I was thinking of. One, United States. And then this is California. And by the way, this is the reason we've got these right is that California has an important, significant disclosure law and publicly publishes the disclosures. And so because of that, we can enumerate what's happening much better there. And this is one of the things that would really be nice if it was more common. We'd have public disclosure, because there's a lot of organizations that make FOIA requests for the disclosures from all the states. But if the states could, publish consistent details, in fact, it'd be really nice if, like you said, they kind of use this structure and said, look, use this structure for communicating your breach. And then if all the states or multiple of the states did this, you would have kind of a nice public data set that would be very useful in informing research into breaches. So Okay, we got the region. No secondary victims. Close that. Action. This was malware. Let's see. It's not really ransomware. What is the appropriate one for website injection? Backdoor, brute force, C2, capture app data. Yeah. Fraud, no. This is another hierarchy, right? Click fraud and cryptocurrency mining. Click fraud and then cryptocurrency mining both fall under it. And the reason that hierarchy exists is because the combination of them had existed previously. So when we broke them out, we created a hierarchy. Destroy data, disable controls, downloader, blah, 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 exploit vulnerability, modify data, no. Okay, so how's it installed? Remote injection by agent. So it was installed through a vulnerability on the website, really. It's used for infiltration and... which button is it? Infiltration and exfiltration. Or infiltration and exfiltration. I'll get this right one of these tries. There we go. And I would guess at the name, but since they don't say it, I'm not going to... And the CVE, because there was a really common one right around that time, right? But I won't guess that right now. The actor is external. They were financially motivated. They were stealing credit cards. Financially motivated. United States. Oh, no, this is actor. We don't know the actor's region. In fact, we'd be surprised if they were in the US. Move region because we don't know it. Don't know the name. And then asset was a web server. And it sounds like it was one. We don't know how it was hosted. And then attribute, data disclosed, yes. We don't know the amount, but we know that credit card data was, or payment card data was disclosed, and it sounded like personal data as well. So let's go double check that. Not here. Intruder, credit card information. Further personal information was in fact have not confirmed, because we really don't want to find that information. Personal information was confirmed or was not confirmed, but was probably available. Credit card information was available. So I'm going to put both of those because well, no, I'll bet it really was all related to the payment card data. So we'll just put payment card data of customers. This was actually captured kind of in transit. So it's captured as it wasn't really stored on the website as it was entered into the website, but before it was stored by the web app, it was getting taken. Data abuse, unknown, but I would guess so. Close that. Targeted. This is the kind of opportunistic thing. You find a vulnerability on a website, known e-commerce vulnerability, you take advantage of it. Discovery method. They say they discovered it, so internal, but they don't say how. Value chain. There's certainly malware developed here that required probably an exploit and also the payload to steal the data. Distribution services. They would need, or non-distribution services. We don't know any of these. Proxy, unknown, MP, VPN. Targeting. Probably vulnerabilities. Distribution. Botnet, compromised server. We don't know, but they had to have used some kind of distribution for this. Cash out. They're stealing the money directly from the credit cards, very likely. Money laundering will need to happen, but we don't know what kind. Oh, and that's right. There's for some reason a missing unknown option on money laundering. Money laundering, so we'll need to add it back in there. And then impact. Honestly, they just kind of disclosed it. They probably had to do a little investigation. That was it. Say random assignment. I think. Yeah, there's no labels over here that would make me think otherwise. And then action. Malware by an external actor was placed on a web server which compromised confidentiality of people's credit cards. And we'll validate it, and that should be it. And this is one of the things that's really interesting, right? Because we do this all the time. Like, you kind of look at the data set, or you look at something like the DBIR, and you go, yeah, wow, like every one of these breaches, or a huge number of them involve one step, right? A single thing happened. But the reality is that's like watching code these cases for those people that have like watched me do this for a couple of days. Like, that's what it is. It's just like the attackers come in, they do one thing, and then they sit back and they get whatever they wanted or whatever they were looking for. It is just that common. And while sometimes it's easy to read reports and go, no, that can't be it, right? Like, it couldn't possibly be that easy. It is that easy, and it happens all the time. So, okay, we'll take the last one on my list here. School district sign. We'll make this the last one for the day because we've got about 8 minutes left in the hour. School district server breach. More than 800 notified after privacy concerns after a possible cyber attack. Unusual activity at the school district server raised a red flag. More than 800 notifications were sent. Like, the flowery wording doesn't help. In May, reported that. So, completely generic statement. I'll have to check my schedule first. And plus, like, I'm behind on a couple of things. How about we save it for Friday? And if I get ahead of the curve by Friday, I'll do some data analysis. Would that work? Because I do like doing the data analysis. It's certainly more fun than coding incidents. But I need to go figure out why the compiler is unable to include the library that I need to build the analysis environment containers that I need. Yeah, Tidy Friday will be what it will. And actually, if I do it on Friday, I'll either do the tidy data or I'll do some VCDB data. Because I like kind of work on the VCDB data. Though it helps if people have questions, like, are curious about things to look up, because then I can show people, here's how you would look up this or that thing. So maybe I should be taking like questions to look up on Friday. I'll email them to me, and we will look them up on Friday. How about that? Okay. Took a while to figure out, said Sandra Jones, superintendent of the school district. We had a lot of challenges with the server. I understand this was happening elsewhere in the world. This is not helpful information. Didn't take chances, and once they realized the server may have been hit with the same illicit activity, they rebuilt the server. Data from current and previous staff, including vendors and schools. Can't see any information was taken. Abundance of caution. Cost to rebuild the server was in the range of 25. This is going to get needs detail. Right. There is just not enough information in this one to do anything with it. Like, the school district is really cagey about what happened, and just something happened on a server, and it was happening elsewhere in the world, so it wasn't just us. It's not our fault, which is not helpful. Okay, let's see what this is. Bahrain leaks, massive data leak hits Bahrain Muslims ahead of Muharram. Okay, I don't see how Justin Bieber could be related news to this. Those behind the act say this exposes how personal details are not safe with the Dawood Barra Trust, known for its cradle-to-grave databank of followers of this. These are not concepts I am well first in. Head of Maharam, a website named Bahri Leaks, has released the Ashara attendance records of Bahri Muslims around the globe, including names, cell phone numbers. What it claims is an effort to expose how poorly guarded the community's personal data is. It's not helping. The Dawood Bara Fatmi Dawat, the trust that governs the community and has the Sindhya at the helm, maintains meticulous records of members in the Imajat card, which is issued at the time of birth and tracks members through their lifetime. In recent years, the Dwarat had put in place a swiping attendance system which let them monitor which cardholders attended Maharam prayers or not, if they attended, whether they were on time. I show up to church with like 3 children. Like, being on time is not our strong suit. In recent years, Dwyer has put in place, okay, the ID cards also had names of personal, so we have the information about what happened. Or we don't know how they got it, is part of the problem. Global stored in the global database in order to determine how religiously pure a member is. According to Bahri Leaks, edicts have been sent to all Bahri centers worldwide, taking their Ashara attendance categorization one step further, extorting that it's categorized daily into 3 groups: those who attend sermons before time, those who attend sermons late, and those who did not attend at all. Hackers claim that they made the data public to show the center database, which covers multiple global cities, is not secure. The data that Bahri Leaks made public on October 3rd. October 3rd, so we have a date. We probably have enough to code this. Last Shara attendance, including a bunch of personal information. 4 divisions of my featured in the leaks. Nearly 250 people being named as having poor Ashara attendance. City-wise files also include the names of people who are responsible for taking remedial action to ensure that people's attendance in the future. It's very unfortunate that such a leak can happen, that people's data is not secure, because indeed genuine is an unfortunate words community reacts. Okay, so I'm going to try this. Okay. This is dated 2016. October 2016, which would go in the 2017 report. Security incident, confirmed breach. This is GitHub number 10734. This is our references up here, and I can close this reference too. Summary, say hack database, religious attendance, show properly secured. Okay. Confidence, medium, incident, year 2016. Was disclosed on October 3rd. And I doubt that it was a long-running thing. We'll say 10/10/3. And actually, I'm going to just remove the month because we don't know exactly when it was disclosed. We know basically nothing about compromised time or exfiltration time. Discovery, we don't know because it was disclosed. Containment, we don't know if they disclosed. We know very little about the time other than when it happened. The victim is going to be very weird to code. So I think the Dawari Bara Trust. Okay. In Mumbai. At least we got a country. LinkedIn? Nope. Yeah, there are 4 pages of, so it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10, 11 per page. But I don't know if those are members versus, okay. I'm going to say this is a small organization from a employee standpoint. It's going to be, I'm going to mark this as a religious organization. Which is affected one, Mumbai. So, let's see. Was Mumbai, right? Yeah. In India. So, and then India, I think, falls into Western Asia. Right? No, it doesn't. It falls into like Southeastern Asia, doesn't it? We're going to look that up. M49. Southeastern Asia, maybe? Nope. No, that was not going to be correct. Southern Asia, yeah, Southern. I was close. And so Southern is 034. 42034. Oh, and I don't want the space in there. And what state is Mumbai in? Maybe Maharashtra? Maharashtra? Okay, so go look up India. GHI. India. Is this? It is MH. Perfect. There we go. And we have the victim name. I forgot to fill in the name. There we go. Really no secondary victim. And then the actions, which are the most vague, but I think we can say it was a hacking action. We don't know the vector. More than likely they came in through a web app and some kind of SQL injection. So there's no reason to believe they elevated privileges. But they stole that. So we'll say an unknown hacking action for better lack of any other additional information. Actor, external. This is actually going to be unaffiliated. Yeah, there we are, activist. Then ideology, protest. It sounds like they are located in the same area, and we'll steal the region from the victim to use the same one. So we actually have a organization name, right? It was Bohri Leaks, I think, and I missed a letter. Okay. Leaks, okay. The asset, we know of a single database server. It wouldn't surprise me if there was a lot more going on here. But we don't know. And then I'm going to actually add an unknown action here. Because these kind of breaches follow a really common pattern. These are the ones where more than likely they got in. They could have fished their way in or something, but then they probably either gained a set of credentials and they pivoted to the database. They probably took a few steps to do this, which means that there was more than one action. We kind of want to capture that from a analysis standpoint. This was definitely targeted. And for those who watch the stream, it's rarely targeted, right? It's normally the attackers are going after something. They're targeting money. They're not targeting the company. In this case, they were targeting the organization. Disclosure, yes. Data total, it wasn't really clear. This is personal information of what equates to customers. Did it say over here anything about the amount of data lost? It doesn't really, does it? Well, that is not helpful. So we'll close that one. Discovery method, this is disclosed by actor because they wanted people to know about it. Value chain, we don't know a lot about. Impact, yeah, it's kind of unclear on this one if there is more to it or whether they acted on it. I think this is a random assignment. There's no reason to believe otherwise. In the action chain, I'm going to start with a unknown action. External actor, unknown asset, unknown attribute, because we don't really know how they got in. And then we know that there was probably a hacking action by the external actor against the server that compromised confidentiality. And by putting this unknown up in the top of the event chain, this will, when we go to analyze it, we're going to pull out anything with an unknown, because when we put an unknown action in, we don't know if it's one unknown action or multiple. And so if we analyze chain links, we remove actions with unknowns, because this is at least one action, but it's very likely, 2, 3, 4, maybe even 5. And so this will help us on analysis on the back end. And then we will validate it and save it. And that is our 4th for the day. Taking us a little bit longer, but we got sidetracked a few times. So with that, thank you all for coming. I appreciate it. Hopefully you've learned a little bit more. We've had a couple of interesting cases today. I should be back Thursday about the same time, 10 o'clock, and then I will plan tentatively on Friday on doing an analysis stream on some of the VCDB data or on Tidy Tuesday stuff. So with that, thank you very much, and goodbye.